All right, listen, just to start off, in my opinion, the majority of women are way more selfless and considerate in nature than men. Is that something we can all agree on? The majority of women tend to be more kind and more thoughtful and more empathetic, just naturally. And despite what so many husbands believe, I don't believe that most women are asking too much from us in our relationships. I mean, if you give them consistent affection, which you should be doing anyways, if you help them out with the mutual chores, which you should be doing anyways, if you communicate and handle conflicts in a healthy, productive way, which you should be doing anyways, if you respect them and seek to truly know them, if you give them just a fraction of the interest and attention that you give your favorite hobbies or the sports you watch, then for the most part, they're happy and faithful and content. For most women, if you can just squeeze out the bare minimum of effort, which shouldn't be your goal, but I'm just saying with bare minimum actual effort, with just a little bit of intentionality in the intimacy and vulnerability and love language department, they will usually shower you with far more love and selflessness than you deserve. But that ain't all women, is it? It might be the majority, but it's not all of them. Not all women are going to treat you right. Some women are self-centered, some women are manipulative, some women are controlling or narcissistic. Some women will call you names and disrespect you or mock you and demean you. Some women will neglect you or be violent with you and then blame you and make excuses. Some women aren't all that kind or thoughtful, are they? Some women demand the benefit of the doubt, but they don't return the favor, do they? Some women complain about behaviors that they were just guilty of doing to you. Some women are walking double standards, and they will deny reality right before your eyes if you challenge them. Some of you have experienced those women before, and you don't hear much said about how emotionally and verbally and sometimes physically abusive women can be. And please don't mishear me, I'm not talking about holding women to some standard of perfection. I mean, we all mess up. We are all occasionally disrespectful or rude to our partners. But healthy people repair and apologize and figure out how to grow personally and relationally. Toxic people make excuses and blame and counterattack and dismiss someone else's complaints as too sensitive. I mean, there's a line where messing up isn't just messing up anymore. It's destructive. It's a pattern of selfishness. It's emotional neglect or potentially abuse. So what do you do if you start to feel like you're dating a woman that has these characteristics? Well, my advice, you respectfully walk away because you deserve better than that. You are worthy of kindness and respect and love, not perfectly, but consistently and intentionally. And when you find it difficult to walk away, as most people who are caught in this situation feel like, ask yourself why. Why is it hard for me to walk away from a relationship that I'm not even that happy in? If I feel like I'm being mistreated, why would I continue to stay in that environment? Maybe it's because we tend to attract people who mirror or project how we feel about ourselves. Some of you attract people who take advantage of you because deep down you don't believe you're worthy of any more than that. I mean, you'll still complain about how they treat you, but you won't do anything about it because you're not sure if you deserve anything better. Sometimes staying put, even though you know something is wrong, is less scary than taking a risk of being alone, isn't it? One of the reasons that happens is because of the shame and unworthiness that was instilled in you at such a young age. See, oftentimes kids grow up to be exactly what their parents told them they were, and a lot of you were told that you were worthless. A lot of you were told that you need to perform for love or attention or affection. A lot of you were taught that you need to conform or appease or stay quiet in order to be accepted. A lot of you grew up feeling like you were a burden. And it made things worse that every man told you to suck it up instead of actually listening or validating or comforting you. It wasn't your fault that they weren't a safe place for you emotionally or physically. It wasn't your fault that they abused you, sometimes in the worst ways. None of that was your fault. And for a lot of you, they robbed you of your childhood. They took that from you. For some of you, they robbed you of the ability to fully trust someone else or to be comfortable getting close to someone else in the future. None of that was your fault, but healing from it will be your responsibility because I want the best for you and you want the best for you. But there's a lot that needs to happen before you can have the relationship that you deserve. Some of you have a long journey of healing that you haven't even started. And I understand that the person who's mistreating you might also suffer from that same trauma in their life, and that sort of bonds you together. But the best way you can heal is to do this alone right now. Because some of you grew up in a family with a very skewed view of what love was supposed to look like. So you find yourself with people who share some of your parents' unhealthy patterns of love, or conflict, or jealousy, or shame, or criticism, or avoidance, because that's what's familiar to you. That's what you think relationships are. But they're not. And if you don't break this toxic cycle that you're stuck in, you'll rob yourself of one of the greatest gifts God gives us, a safe, secure, intimate relationship with someone else. Your parents were wrong, and their relationships suffered. Don't let their example destroy your relationships now. Men, feelings aren't weaknesses. Being emotionally mature enough to talk about your feelings and fears and needs and desires isn't weakness. It's strength, and it's very attractive to the right person. Avoiding your feelings and fears, being blind to them, and instead just reacting and defaulting to rage or stonewalling or criticism or blame or trying to change or control our partners, that's weakness. A lot of you tend to be givers, don't you? A lot of you tend to see the good in people and give the benefit of the doubt when you're dating someone. And that's great, as long as it's paired with the reality of who they are actually showing themselves to be through their actions and words and patterns. Because people can fake it for a while, but eventually people's actions and behaviors and anger and laziness and neglect always come out. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. It simply means they aren't healed or ready for a healthy, mature relationship. Are you ready for a healthy, mature relationship? Because a lot of us say we are, but we don't really know what that entails, do we? We don't know what love requires of us, or when we should give up, because a healthy relationship wasn't modeled for us. Healthy conflict resolution wasn't modeled for us. And that makes things so dangerous, because most of us will just default to what feels natural to us. My advice, ask a professional. Not me, someone with a degree. Ask them to help you see your blind spots. Ask them to help you set yourself up for the best chance at success, or real love and closeness and vulnerability in your relationships, not just the superficial versions that we see so much of today. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong and smart and mature. One of the single best things you could do is admit out loud, I don't know what I don't know. And if you had terrible examples of love and selflessness and kindness and consideration and conflict resolution growing up, don't think you're just automatically going to do the opposite just because you're in love. She's not going to have a healthy, loving relationship with you if she doesn't have one with herself. The way she treats you is a reflection of her, but the way you allow her to treat you is a reflection of you. And so often unhealthy people attract unhealthy people. You also can't have a loving relationship with another person until you have one with yourself first and understand your value and worth, and have clarity on what the bare minimum requirements are from both people to make a relationship work. The relationship you want and deserve demands a level of self-reflection and emotional maturity that very few people are intentionally seeking. Don't fall into that trap. Seek out wise counsel. There is no downside. There is only upside to that. Pay attention to how you handle conflicts. Do you escalate? Do you criticize? Do you attack? Do you say nothing and let the resentment build? Do you shut down? Do you refuse to engage? Do you appease so that you avoid the conflict altogether? Do you convince yourself that you're just asking for too much? Do you default to taking all the blame? It's all important. It's all a picture of what you're truly feeling or fearing. Paying attention to those things and getting help switching from destructive and toxic habits into healthy, positive ones is how we get the relationship we deserve. Continuing to argue with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you is not. Sometimes you're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And you get to decide who you marry. That's something you have control over. Some people set themselves up for success by picking someone who is mature and emotionally safe and respectful and thoughtful. Is that what you're doing? Because if you're saying, man, I'd love to have a girl like that, I'm just letting you know she's out there. But guess what? You're not the right person for her until you get healthy, until you heal from your shame or blame or codependency, until you recognize what destructive patterns might you have unintentionally snuck into your personality or relationship or conflict resolution. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. I'm not saying you need to be perfect. I'm saying avoiding your demons, not talking about your trauma, Not talking to a professional about your healing, that doesn't help you or set you up for success. It curses you, it handicaps you, and it ultimately robs you of the relationship you want for yourself. Avoidance doesn't solve our problems, it magnifies them. And the goal isn't perfection. We all have things we need to be working on, areas that we need to be growing in. Perfection isn't the goal, but growth is. Honest self-reflection is. Emotional intelligence is. Humility is. Relational maturity is. You don't need to beat yourself up. You just need to simply ask yourself, what's one thing I'm working on this week that benefits my relationship with myself and with my partner? Not all women are going to treat you right, but it's important to remember that it's not your job to save them. It's not your job to heal them with your love and kindness. It's not your job to convince them of your worth. You do that not by talking or arguing, but by leaving when it's appropriate. Because the moment you don't respect yourself. You don't value yourself, which begs the question, why are you expecting them to? And I'm not trying to demonize her or make you feel like you're broken. I'm simply hoping to open your eyes to what you actually deserve. Because sometimes the hardest part is getting you to actually believe that you deserve kindness and respect and selflessness and love. Because you do. But the paradox is you won't find it out there until you find it in here first. Another person will never complete you. They can only complement you. The healthiest relationships are comprised of two already whole people that understand what they need and want and desire, and what they will and will not tolerate, or when to walk away when someone chronically disrespects them or hurts them, or the relationship as a whole. You teach people how to treat you. So what are you teaching her about how she can treat you? Because you don't teach someone to appreciate you by giving them more of what they're already taking for granted. You don't teach someone to value your needs and desires by abandoning them in yourself. So let's get healthy for us. Let's learn about self-reflection and emotional intelligence and healthy conflict resolution. Let's stop allowing people who don't have our best interests in mind to take advantage of us. Let's stop blaming them or controlling them or attacking them, because that never leads to them listening or loving us in a different way, does it? Let's admit and confess and acknowledge how we've unintentionally contributed to this unhealthy dynamic we found ourselves in. And then let's change what we can change to set ourselves up for success in our most important relationships. Thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see you in the next one.